Okay, you ready? Here we go. Here we go. I think we are live, my friend.
Huh?
We are live. Okay.
Hello. Good morning.
We have, I'm actually choking on this English muffin I just swallowed. Okay, that's at 3%. Ain't gonna work. Here we are, yet again. Are you ready? You know, I was thinking we should pretend like we're on drugs while we do this, like just talk like idiots.
You guys do that too.
No, that's not what you're like on drugs.
I can tell I was never on drugs. There's a great interpretation of someone that never did drugs.
All right, here we are. Okay, so we are the Dave and Dave Show, episode 104. Your weight.
I age.
So here are the topics today. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Scorched Earth on Fire Housing Market Report. Number one. Number two, you don't know what you don't know. We're going to talk about some of the experiences of us versus other companies. We're going to talk about show horse versus workhorse. Okay.
Been across my life, but I know what a show is.
Yeah, try not to think of it in that respect. And then the last one, what could be possible if you could not fail, which is an extension of the conversation I started with a post that I did yesterday, which we will dive into. What do you think? Are you ready? Are you prepared?
I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Okay, let's go. We got a couple of good mornings. Good morning, Linda Evans. Good morning, Aaron Garner. Good morning, Bob. And good morning, Cheryl. Here we go. Scorched Earth on Fire, end of days, housing market report. Are you waiting for me? This is where your cue is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm following you blind. So the housing report is that how listings are under approximately 2,700, which is so scary and so ridiculous. The escrow is near to 4,000. So what is happening? We have an unbalanced balance going on right now, meaning
An unbalanced balance. What the hell is an unbalanced balance?
Unbalanced balance. It's an oxymoron. So meaning we have an escrow, but the inventory is drying up very fast. So what does it mean? The interest rates are low. Buyers are buying like crazy. The median price is 335. I expect that to increase with our stats because it means to buy a house, you're going to have to probably
What's the
go to
median
your
price?
Huh?
Median price, you're cutting in and out. Did you say it's 345, not 335?
345.
Okay.
And we're probably gonna have to, on some houses, make concessions to get it bought.
Have you did the numbers come out yet for
No.
January?
No.
Let me just check while we're waiting. Listen, 2,700 single family homes available in all of Las Vegas is an insane number. Even in 2004, 2005, and 2006, what we've talked about is a lot of, you're right, it is not out yet. More houses were changing hands. So context, always context. 3,000 homes a month were selling just on new homes back in 04, 05, 06. We're lucky we're at 1,500, half of that, right? 1,500 new homes a month. And we talked about that last week. We got the lumber issue that is skyrocketing costs. We have land issues with BLM. We have labor issues with the pandemic and what's going on, and quality craftsmanship issues, and legislation, right? So we're going to have multi-family housing. There's just it's tough to build. It's tough to build. So we've talked about that, and so not only that, even if it has been at 2,700 in the past, we had less homes to compare it against. So if there was only 2,700 homes on the market in 06 or in 96, there were less homes actually existing in Las Vegas. We've had more homes today than we've ever had in the history of Las Vegas. Tomorrow, we'll have more homes than we've ever had in the history of Las Vegas. In a month from now, there'll be more homes because we just keep growing homes. So the fact that we have this low of inventory is why we're seeing to the moon, as the GameStop people like to say. We're gonna take this to the moon. Well,
And we have multiple lists going on in new home tracks that they're saying lottery, they're saying put a reservation on a lot, and people putting reservations on lots. Of course, because we're playing the game, they're putting reservations on 10 lots. So you have 10 people putting 10 reservations on 10 lots. You truly, sounds like you have 100 buyers, and you can, but they're all fighting to get a house. So we are in a so much seller's market, whether resale or builders, that we have to do a great job to get our clients a house.
beautiful. So what does this mean? What do these stats mean? Everybody always likes to know the stats, but no one follows up with what does it mean. What it means is prices are going to go up for the foreseeable future. What we don't know for sure is what's going to happen, right? I spend all of my days trying to poke holes in what can stop this tsunami, because all my indicators is that the minute people get vaccinated and the minute people have all this fatigue, they're going to get in a plane or get in a car and come to Las Vegas, because you can't go to Europe and you can't go to all these places. And whether or not you can go, most people aren't going to feel comfortable. So the first thing they're going to go to is either the beach, Mexico, or Las Vegas. And when they come to Las Vegas, all the jobs we did lose are going to come back. And I don't know where we're going to put these people. I have no clue.
We have to get 4-story multiple housing dwellings, you know.
That's the issue.
But I
So-
agree with you on the travel. To travel, I don't even know if Mexico will be, because maybe there'll be a Mexican strain of the virus. Right now,
I think people, listen, I'm already trying to look at a Cabo trip, and from everyone I know has gone there, first of all, I love that they call it physical distancing instead of social distancing. I like that, because social distancing, I'm such a social person. I want to hug and touch people and talk. So I like that it's physical distancing. Not
who calls that? Mexico calls it physical?
I think that's the way they translated it over,
That's a good thing.
right? So even if they're not, but let's just, for devil's advocate, let's say they're not going. I do agree that most people would feel more comfortable going to the Las Vegas Strip than the Cabo. I'm with you. I'm with you on that. So
I think your point of local America sites are going to do very, very well, whether it be the beach, Vegas, and different places you want to go to.
what's so interesting, so Lexi says she went to Cabo for Thanksgiving. So comment and tell us how it was. What's so interesting is, and to stay nonpartisan, everyone's saying that, and maybe I'm in my bubble and real estate's doing well. Maybe people are really struggling, but there's such a divide. There's such a gap between the people who are struggling, and it seems like everyone and their mother, as far as who's making money, has more money than they know what to do with. Like they can't even spend it. So what you're seeing is goods like Mercedes are selling over list, and Rolexes, and you can't buy property, but yet there's food struggles and homelessness. You know what I mean? It's like two worlds we're living in right now. So like, I don't know what's going to happen. My gut is telling me that everyone's going to keep buying and moving, but who knows? I started looking at a different point today, saying maybe people stop buying when they could do more things.
Maybe it doesn't become a priority because you're occupied in life.
But I did see an article, and it was for a moving company, so it wasn't a real estate related article. But what it was, which was interesting, it said, and I don't know how true this is, is 50% of all people are considering moving.
Wow. And that could be because with the pandemic, it has changed our market. It has changed the way people live. People like home now that have home office, home gym, classrooms. There's a million different things that people never consider will change as our life changes. But right now, I think people are looking pools. I've never seen so many pools going in houses as I am now. So it seems that right now, our trend is towards more home style specific enjoyment. That's my word interpretation. Do you like it?
I do, and I'm just playing devil's advocate because everything here is everything you're saying is what I'm believing, but I like to stress test everything, right? Like, let's A/B test it, let's stress test it, let's see how it plays when we throw it on the treadmill, right? And is it because you know, what is it? The 11th man or the 12th man is this old thing where like you have a group of 12 people and one person is there to say no all the time and not agree with the other 11, to like the true devil's advocate all the time, just fighting because everything in me, like I'm scared of this irrational exuberance. But guess what? Every time I try to poke holes in it, I can't poke holes in it. Like all my outcomes are saying that it's going to be a frenzy for at least 2 or 3 years. I don't know if the Roaring Twenties is going to be a 3 to 5 year thing or if it's going to be an 8 year thing, but it's coming. I believe that the Roaring Twenties are here. So it's just interesting how I look at it, and I know we've had so many discussions about this. There is a threshold. Even though there's such little amount of properties on the market, there is still that screw you, I'm not paying that price number.
Yeah, that is true. I agree with you.
Whereas in 06, we didn't see that.
No.
It was such
there's more rational buying, but remember in 06, we didn't have a 2.75 average interest rate on a loan.
True.
And money buys more now with that interest rate than ever before. I mean, when you were born, I bought my first house and interest rate was 8.5 with 20% down. And think of it now. I mean, most people paid 8.75. So you think.
So in 06, they were like, I remember, I think I was doing loans back then. I can't see them. They were at least 6 or 7, 5, 6, 7%.
Between 5 and 6.5.
Yeah.
They were. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. And that's when we had the glut. Now you got an interest rate where you could negotiate 2.75 pretty much. Those numbers are staggering, and the opportunity, and we speak about it, should I buy? Well, if you're a first-time home buyer and you got to pay a little bit more and you're getting 2.75, take it from me, 44 years in the business, you may never see that number again. It's all about your payment.
So I'm looking at a house today, potentially a luxury flip, and I reached out to Nikki over at City National, and she's saying even on jumbos, I mean, given I got 830 credit and some nice assets, but 25% down with like 2.75% on a second home.
Wow.
It's insane on a jumbo.
Wow.
Right? So it's almost like, you know what I mean? Isn't that crazy? Right? So it's
flips, you count on the money. One of the costs in the flip is the cost to hold it or to carry it and loan it. So again, when the flipper is saying, all right, there's a cost of product, but it's a cost of loan. If you do a loan and it's so cheap right now, again, it's advantageous to do it. Because
there's carry costs. So if the flip took 2 or 3 months, or if it took a time to sell,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
the carry costs a little. Or if you get stuck, because what flippers don't realize, and listen, if you watch too much TikTok or too much infomercials, and everyone's like, go flip houses, and they don't know what the hell they're doing, you're gonna get caught. It's not if, it's when. You're gonna get caught on a flip where you're like, I did this whole flip. If you're lucky, you don't lose money, but you just put in all these hours and you broke even. That's just part of the game. Don't even pretend like you're not going to get caught. You get caught, right? With your pants down. That's just life. But if you do get caught and you got to hold it and rent it, you're in a better position, right? Is that what you're saying, Pop? Like you're in a
Yeah.
better position because you have a lower rate, you got a better chance of cash flow. And that's kind of the game. Like I was having a good conversation. I think he's watching my buddy Jim yesterday. We were talking about that, and it's just like, who even cares, right? Even if the prices drop, right? So like people have been asking me. I mean, I have people who like collect, who sell trading cards, and people who have stocks, and people who have 20 houses, and they're like, "What would you do?" And I'm like, first of all, I'm not going to pretend I know your market, but I know real estate, right? And what I say is, if I owned 100 houses right now, okay, if I was a big holder, I would be releasing my inventory that are underperforming, and I'm not a fan of the inventory. Like the ugly ducklings of my inventory, I'd be releasing them back into the wild and selling them. And I'd be taking that money and reinvesting in something good, right? Maybe I stay in the game because there's tax implications, right? So you get what I'm saying with that, Pop? You with me?
Yes.
Like, but I would also be taking some money off the table. We were talking about discipline, and in '06, right, I closed the day Washington Mutual went under. You closed a month before that, right?
Yeah.
So we collectively as a family, we probably just closing before the world ended, about 500 to 600,000 in equity. We took off the table. But people don't have the discipline to do what you and I did. We moved into a rental together, right? Lived like maniacs. And then you waited for another rental to open. You moved into one of your own rentals. And then not many people can move from Red Rock to Ivy Glen and then turn a 1031 that you did 3 times into tax-free cash. That's some discipline. And a lot of people don't even know what I'm talking about right now, but some sophisticated people could actually figure it out. You know what I mean?
Going to the market.
What?
Say sophisticated in the market to know what 1031 and tax is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not saying like they're dummies. I'm talking about talking always with the empathy, worrying about me offending people. I love it. No,
I never want anyone to misunderstand where we're coming from because we always come from this.
true. We are the company with the heart and soul. So, just some interesting things like when you're thinking like, what am I going to do? So we have clients that are basically taking money. They're going from selling on the high and buying on the high, but middling and taking some money off. We have some clients that are going, holy crap, my house, I never realized it was worth this much. Maybe it's time for me to level up because I'm going to take this and then jump up a step, right? We have clients doing both, right? Because if you're selling on a high and you're buying on the high, you could either move up or you can move down and take money off the table, right? Or
Dave, no one realizes when you buy that investment or you buy that house. Like I bought this house and I was saying to you, am I paying too much? And I think I bought it 4 years ago, maybe, and 16 was a monumental year or whatever. And in time, in 4 years, it's gone up 200,000. So I didn't buy it for that because I live here. This is my home. But always seems to, it goes like this, but it always seems to be this.
listen, it's kind of like gaining weight as you get older. Okay. So let's say you start out at 180 and you gain 20 pounds. That's your appreciation. But you're like, you know what? I'm going to lose some weight. So you go back down to like 185. You never make it back down to 180. Then you gain it all back. And instead of going to 200, you go to 205. And then you lose it again. Now 190 is your drop. And then the next time you gain it back at your 210, right? This is the market. You go up, you get your appreciation, you go down, you don't quite go down as much. The next time you go up, you beat the previous high and you go down. This isn't predicting the future. This is showing you what has happened in the past. So the people say on average, it's about 2.5, 3 to 3.5% per year you're going to see. Now, some people try to time it. They try to time the top and they try to time the bottom. Impossible. You only hit it by luck. You only know it's the bottom when you have the hindsight and you have the space to be able to look back and go, that was the bottom. You only know when it was the top when you have the space to look back and go, well, I guess that was the top, right?
Yep.
So I think you have to, it's just what we talk about all the time. You got to move. Now, personally, I'm feeling a little risky. I want to get in the market and run it up. I do. I think there's some opportunity out there, and I think you got to. If you have a good realtor or you are a realtor, we should be the ones to know that it's changing first, because we check it every single day. So if we see a little hole in the dam and it's just a leak, maybe we go, uh-oh, rates jump to 3.5, inventory jumps up to like 4,000. Oh, let's see what's going on. But even then, is the rental market going to stay insane, even if the appreciation market goes down? And I think even in 2006, where everyone was running for the streets, you were cool as a cucumber because you were cash flowing all of your homes, even in a crappy market. It's not all about the equity. It's only equity if you're doing a quick flip. It's cash flow if you're long hold, right? So you got to know which way you're playing, and you got to have the downside. If you're trying to do the quick flip, still make sure you have an opportunity to cash flow it every month if you're stuck with it. What's your worst case scenario? Can you survive in the worst case scenario? If you're in trouble in the worst case scenario, then you got to rethink your scenarios. So beautiful.
I agree. I agree, and I have one like that now, and I'm sure people have it too, because with the rental
So tell us the
moratoriums,
situation. Just tell the people the story of that. Where you bought it at, how high it went, how low it went, where you're at.
signature.
Okay, tell them.
So I bought it at 320. It went by at 550.
So
Now
you're cutting out. You bought it at 330, it went up to 550.
320, it went up to 550.
Okay.
I always paid me every year. It paid me.
How did you buy it?
Huh?
Did you finance it? Did you buy it cash? How'd you buy it?
Cash. I bought it cash.
Your internet is terrible today. So he bought it cash because he sold like 20 of them in there, and he used all of his commission pretty much that he made off of all those sales and dumped it into buying one cash. Correct?
Now, because the strip is basically shut down,
What happened in 2006?
2006, they owe me 550 for it.
All right, 2008, 2009. How low did it go? 2010.
150.
Sorry. So let's keep my wonderful storytelling father bought this beautiful home, condotel for 330 cash. Condotel financing is pain in the ass back then. You can kind of get it, kind of couldn't, right? Sees it almost double in price. 600 square feet, correct?
600 square feet. Yeah, probably.
About 500 a foot, almost hits $1,000 a foot in the height. That's how crazy the market was. Some people were getting close to 600, correct? The bottom falls out and it drops to 150 grand. So if you're looking at just equity, he's like, I'm the smartest guy in the room. I just made $220,000, almost 100%, about 70% gain, right? And he's cash flowing every month because MGM rents it out, right? Because he owns it cash. He's positioned correctly, right? Cash flowing every month, and he's got this. And then boom, the bottom falls out. But I know you can't really talk too much about it because you don't break any MGM rules, but you've cash flowed every single month you've owned it until the pandemic, correct?
Exactly.
So regardless if it's worth 150, 330, or 550, what happened with him with money every month?
Cash flowed it out. I had cash in my pocket.
So who cares how much the asset's worth? Now, we were hoping that the Raider Stadium was going to really up Airbnbs and also up the value of Signature, correct?
Yep.
Also, we were hoping that the monorail would make it to there, right? Because one day it's going to be back up to 550, and then he's got another choice to make. Does he keep cash flowing or does he exit? Right? Then what does he do with the money?
The trick of investment is always make sure you can avoid the good and the bad, so you don't lose your property.
But it never became a liability like an anchor, a sinking ship, because he was strategic. Now, if he would have had a 90% loan on it,
Mhm.
he'd been in trouble. See what I'm saying? So the way I look at it is all upside, and even if you don't hit the upside, it's cash. Cash. It's paying you.
An investment, it's almost like a stock. If I sold it today, I'd lose 100,000, but I'm not selling it today stock, so it'll go to break even. If I hold it longer and the stadium in Vegas booms because the strip property is on first, then it may go up 100,000 and I'll make 100. If the monorail and the Tesla underground goes to the stadium and stops there, it may go to 600 or 650. The trick of it is afford it, good and bad, if it's an investment house. If it's an owner occupied, then your rent is 1,400 and your mortgage is 1,400. It's a no-brainer. Stop overthinking it. It's a no-brainer. Buy a
Buy
house.
instead of rent. Yes.
You got it.
Because even then you're paying off the mortgage, right? So again, but same thing when you buy personally, don't over leverage, right? So
Mhm.
like people think I'm insane because I sell every 2 or 3 years because I make a shit ton of money on my high end property. So I've really taken advantage of that 250 to 500,000 exception on capital gains, which will never lose. And if you don't like NAR, that's the one reason why you should like them, is they're going to keep that in play by their lobbyists, and they're going to fight whether it's Trump, Biden, or Joe Schmo. NAR is going to come to the table and make sure that the capital gains exemption is always there, right? I'm the first to give NAR shit, but man, that's where they really help. Okay, so
Advocacy is their number one thing.
their advocacy for the agent, but even more so the consumer. So, so we went through all that. Now I move my poor family every couple of years. I may do it again. I may do it again. So it all works. So
What happened when we moved here from New York? How many houses did you live in?
in New York, we lived in 1 year. We've lived in like 13 since we've been here. You know, my mother's done a really good job of this. She did it in New York. She did it in Texas. She does a great job of pulling money off the table and rebuilding, rebuying, and whatnot. So it's the number one. I can't say this enough. I know it's cliche, but it's the number way people make money and create assets. I have
Well,
friends that go up and down in their careers, friends in Florida that they're going to sell their estate and they're going to be worth $1 million. They don't live like millionaires, but they got $1 million in equity they're going to be able to take off the table. Right? It's a great way to park it. It's a long-term win. So trying to like time the market, just buy as much as you can without over leveraging yourself and freaking hold it. You're going to be good for the rest. You know, it's that guy who buys 20 acres in Timbuktu and never looks at it for 30 years. And then someone says he hit the lottery because by then the acreage went from 1,000 an acre to 300,000 an acre. That's how all the people made money here in Las Vegas, right? They're trading acres on the strip for $1 back in the day, right? So if you watch the show, and you're not sold on real estate, you're not paying attention. So on we go. I get excited. Now I want to go buy. What? Why are you laughing? I'm too aggressive?
no, I love what you're saying. No, you're right.
Okay, let's pivot. Don't want this to be an Urban Nest infomercial, but it's always interesting when I love this saying, you don't know what you don't know. And I think you're in your bubble all the time. And for instance, it's tough to be in my bubble, your bubble, Pops, because we're not obsessed with what other companies or what other people are doing. We're not. We're obsessed with what we're doing. And it's easy to nitpick and only look at the holes in my own company and where we have to grow it and make it better and evolve, right? Isn't that easy to get stuck in that world?
Yes.
Until you find out what other people do. So an agent go to another company for leads. That's how pretty much every story starts. Leads, right? And let me put it out there. If you're looking for leads, go to another company. We'll teach you how to become a rock star, but we're not feeding you leads. There I am. I put the declaration in the sand. What?
I love it. I totally agree.
So agent went for leads. We hugged her, said, we're going to miss you. We love you. You're always welcome back. Right? That's the way we do it. She cried. I mean, like, we have a great relationship. Hate to see you go, but we don't provide leads. That's standing your ground on who you are. She goes to the company, but then she gave us some interesting stuff. Like, for instance, this is the second time. I actually have I know a friend at another company that's having issues with this too. Something as simple as getting paid your commission. Now, I'm going to give you all the credit on this, Pops. Why are we so insane on getting people their money within 24 hours?
Because I think our company is very agent centric, and you can't put yourself in someone else's shoes. And a lot of companies really pay you or have a week, 10 days, but yours are due and you need to get paid. So we are so crazy that we want you to have money in the pocket as soon as it comes.
So, for instance, we pay extra for an e-check system to get you checks in your email. We have a relationship with a bank that isn't necessarily the best bank, but what are they best at, Dad? Clearing the money quickly. Okay. So what does that mean?
For the United States, so if you get it in Florida on vacation, you could spend the money.
Exactly. You could literally like get the check in your email, go to the national bank, and actually pull the cash out immediately
when you're on vacation.
wherever you are. So I thought about it. It's not easy. We spend extra money. It's a pain in the ass, right? You agreement?
Yes.
So we built this system because my father has said, never forget, it's easy. We have agents that get 10 checks a month and they don't cash 8 of them for 30 days. Like, they're doing great. Then we have the average agent is in this position. They're basically, I like this saying, you wake up unemployed every day when you're an entrepreneur, right? And you got to go out there and hunt and make your money. So they got bills, they got credit card bills, they got something going, and they need that check yesterday. So that's the reality of life. So the fact that we get the checks quickly is something that I don't even think is a point of difference or a differentiator ever. But you always remind me that that's the little things that make the difference of a company from another. Where, like, if I'm sending an ad out about Urban Nest, it's the last thing I'm thinking that makes a difference for people, like, because I'm not in that bubble, right? On how quickly. But when you're waiting 2 weeks for your money and you need it, it's the most important thing. So these are some of these interesting differences, right? Also, broker support. Now, I hate those two words because any idiot or any asshole could say they have broker support, right?
Yep.
But we've been in enough companies where we know there's a difference between broker support and broker support, right? And that's our number one other issue. That's probably the thing we hear more than anything else. I got no one to hold my hand. And what are most of the questions, Pops?
Well,
Do you know?
questions are about the transaction or about an offer you're doing right now. And the difference of a broker picking up and not picking up, or the difference of not getting the offer, making a drastic mistake once it's in a transaction. It's very immediate on finding out what's going on.
And it's not because the agent's a dummy. Agent just wants to get reassurance. 99 out of 100 questions are, hey, I did a comp and I think it's worth this. Am I right? Here's the scenario. I think it's this. What do you think? And usually our answer is, you're on the right track, but because we have so much experience, right? Like, we've done our 10,000 hours, Malcolm Gladwell, thank you very much. Like, right, 10,000 hours of golfing, you're an expert. I've done my 10,000 hours of being a broker, probably 50,000 hours. So it's more like, hey, like, what would you do in this situation? You're doing the right thing, but have you considered maybe this as well? Oh, I never considered it. How do you know all the answers? Well, if you take if you're in a batting cage and you've seen 100,000 fastballs, you better be able to hit a fastball. We've taken 100,000 questions, so we know we've dealt with your question before. Very few questions raise my blood pressure anymore because I'm conditioned, right? I mean, how many things get you crazy at this point, Bob?
Not a lot.
Exactly. And then we also, Janessa just said it. Georgia's great. Georgia's best. We got Georgia. We got Jennifer. We have conditioned brokers that have seen every situation, and if they haven't seen it, him or I have. So it was interesting. Have an agent coming over from another company, and I was on the phone with her. She ended up with me last night, and she's like, "Man, I just, I'll send my broker a text or I'll need something, and sometimes I don't get an answer for 3 days, right?" And I said, "No, I get it." I said, "But I have 470 agents. I have 3 kids. I have 10 employees. I have a bunch of friends. But here I am. I got 15 minutes for you on a Tuesday night. That's knowing how to take care of your people." And she was like, "Ooh, good answer." Right? So I don't want to spend the whole day talking about the difference of Urban Nest versus the next company, but you don't know what you don't know. And that's the truth. You get what I'm saying, Pop?
I do, and I take many of those calls too. Yesterday, someone called, and I go, a little bit too early for me, 7 a.m. I'm more the night guy. I used to say when it was just and we started the company, I would say, call Dave in the morning, call me in the night, because I like the night a lot better. But I took the call. I was up making my first cup of coffee, and I took the call because the agent was going in a meeting and needed an answer then. So that's the difference, is that continued broker support, continued classes, teaching you the business changes weekly, daily. You need to have classes every week to know what's going on. Look at the market right now. If you weren't selling in the last 2 weeks as an agent, you wouldn't know what was happening except through our classes of how insane the market is right now.
Well, then you're like, what's an escalation clause? Can I do it? No. One of our top producers, our top producer emailed me yesterday and was like, "Are we still doing highest and best? Why?" And I'm like, "Listen, I'm not a fan of highest and best personally. Pick the 2 best offers, 3 best offers, do your seller's multiple counter, get rid of all the other garbage, and see where the seller wants to end up, put him out on the seller's multiple counter and end it." Right? She's like, "I agree. Sometimes, I'd love to have a conversation with you about what gets more for the seller, the highest and best or putting it out there." Right? And that's the kind of conversation. This is an experienced agent with 20 years of business doing 100 transactions a year, right? And we're still having conversations about the theory and the philosophy about how's the best way to protect the seller and get them the most money, right? And the best terms.
And that happens every day. And that's why sometimes we're just sounding boards to the top agents just to be there. And that's our job. And we do say that
Say it again, you cut out. What?
I said we do it well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a point of difference. And then there's other companies that do it well. I was thinking in my head today. I was like, I remember you were on a panel with Bob Hamrick, John Gafford, and Catherine Bavard. Do you remember this? And Sherwin Esquinella asked a question to the panel. If you couldn't be at your own company and you had to join someone else's company on the panel, who would you choose? And I remember how this went. Bob said, "I know Dave really well. I would go to Dave." Catherine was at Realty One at the time. She goes, I've known Dave really well. I go to Dave." John says, "I feel like Urban Nest is more similar to Simply Vegas, which is my company. I go to Dave," right? Which was so crazy, right? And then what did you say? Do you remember what you said?
Oh,
You said, "Well, I've been a Coldwell Banker with you, Bob. So I've been there, done that. I ran Realty One. So I've been there and done that. Your company's similar to ours, John. So I think I'd stay at my company."
That sounds like me.
which was great, right? And listen, there's a lot of great companies out there. They all have a point of difference. And we play the game all the time of if I couldn't be at my own company, which company would I go to? And it's kind of a way of keeping ourselves on our toes and whatnot. I was playing a game in the shower. I was like, if I had to merge another company into mine, ours, who would I merge? So that was I was really thinking about today. So super interesting with that as well. It was a smaller company with only about 70 agents, with a man who runs it that I'm aligned with really well, and you probably know who that is.
I
So,
do.
but the biggest, I think, I was just talking with another agent at another company who is my friend, and we're talking about Zillow and all like what the future of real estate is, and I said, here's the the five things, the five fundamentals to future-proof your business, right? It's an hour-long class, but one of them, which we've talked about, is add more value. And that's what we're talking about by adding more value. Because there's people just don't, they give you the least possible nowadays. And the expectations of everybody are kind of like, I don't have a high expectation of you, and you don't have a high expectation of me. So we kind of just accept the low expectations of each other. And I think
Not where I want to.
no, no. So that was a huge, I think, point of difference as far as add more value, constantly add more value. If you're constantly adding more value, you're going to win every single time. And then you got to be aligned. Alignment is huge. I mean, there's other companies that do it as well as us. Maybe they even have some better numbers, but man, my values are not aligned with the people who are running the show. And so how you do it is almost as, for me, how you do it is more important than what you do, you know?
And I believe if you don't follow our values and what we do, you should try another company, or you shouldn't interview to come into our company, because our values are important to us. So I know that's a bold statement and maybe I'm trying to sound snobby. If you're not if you say, I'll do any at any time for any dollar, any way, don't interview at Urban Nest, because it's not us in any way. We don't want to have that mantra.
And our values, right? Do the right thing is always number one. Overdo the work. Do the work, you're going to make money. That's the results. But do the right thing. If you're doing it the right thing, like, listen, don't get me wrong. Would I rob an Albertsons if my family wasn't eating? You bet your ass I would, right? But even in my head, doing the right thing would be taking care of my family. So I would break my values. Then when I had money, maybe I'd go back to Albertsons and be like, I stole three years ago from here when I didn't have money. Here's $300, right? Like, but that values first, then the work, then level up, because that's what you should be doing. So that kind of goes into the next one: show horse versus workhorse. And in today's society, I believe everyone wants to be a show horse, and nobody wants to be the workhorse. And we don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but I wanted to put that seed into people's head. Are you a show horse or a workhorse? What
Well,
about
you know, I'm a workhorse. I've always been one.
And listen, it's much easier to pretty up a workhorse and make them a show horse as well. It's much more difficult to make a show horse a workhorse. Right? So think about that when you're marketing. One of the things someone was telling Angie the other day, like, Angie's so gorgeous and she's such a great worker. She's easily could fall into that look at me game of a lot of people on social media, or a lot of people in the high-end luxury game. And she's not like that. Angie's a workhorse that looks like a show horse. Does that make sense?
Why didn't you? I'm a horse that looks like a show horse.
You do, baby. You're beautiful. Okay. And then we'll finish it with one last thing, which I think is kind of like a parting shot. I wrote a post yesterday, which I thought I thought was poignant. There's your word for the day, poignant. And let me find it. Hold on. Trying to watch the comments at the same time. And I said, what if in the next year you tried everything you ever wanted to while playing you like you have nothing to lose and therefore you couldn't fail? And this is a conversation I have with my kids all the time because everyone is so stuck on the failure part of the game. I'm not a big fan of you're texting me while we're doing this. What are you doing? Can't wait 3 seconds. Can't wait 3 seconds. We're literally at the back. We're at the back end. We're in the ass end of the thing.
Let's go to the show. Show horse, get it?
You lost. You're killing my vibe. You're killing my vibe.
That's my job.
Killing it. Now that text is in my head and I want to ask 10 questions. And all I wanted to do was talk about how you should freaking go for it and stop worrying about failing. And then the people who play the loosest are the ones that play like they got nothing to lose. Like if they fail, who gives a shit? Because I got nothing to lose. But then when you start getting things, you start holding on tighter. But you have to access that person like who Gary Vee literally says, I'm in love with failing because I know that I'm growing. And he's playing loose, like you got nothing to lose. That's why, like for instance, Angie and I have been playing a lot of chess. Sometimes she gets my queen early. And then I open up the whole game. I start taking risks. I start going for it. I got nothing to lose. You got my queen already. Now I got to be aggressive and I got to go for it. And I start playing a better game sometimes, right? You're down 15 or 20 in a football game. Now you start breaking out the plays. You didn't have the courage to run in the beginning because you were playing tight. Like if you have that mentality all the time, and here's how I'm going to apply it. By making the phone calls you need to make, you got nothing to lose. You think you got something to lose. You got more to lose by not making the phone calls. You're thinking about spending some money on marketing. You're scared about the return. You got more to lose by not doing the marketing. You got more to lose by not taking the risk. Just go for it. Let the chips fall. So I know you're already checked out. So beautiful. Hopefully they haven't checked out with you. My God, it's time for a guest. You are killing me. Parting shot before I end this. Scorched earth, last 5 minutes.
Work hard, strong. The market has an opportunity. The second part of no inventory is we have 4,000 houses in escrow in the city, and it means homes are selling. And work hard and get part of that sales with you. Buy in. Realtors work hard. Buyers buy in. It's an opportunity with these low interest rates.
Bye.